You have reached the Geek Elite. Good luck.
In a world where knowledge is king, two men will strive to... Oh, sorry about that. We're 100 Things We Learned from Film, the podcast that takes a different subject movie each week and tries to learn 100 things. Hence the funny title. I'm Mark.
And I'm John, and my favourite thing I've learned so far is that chickens have pea crystals. What's yours?
Quite. Do you know the mosquito in the original Jurassic Park is the only type of mosquito that doesn't actually suck blood? So in this case, no blood, no dinosaurs, no film.
So that's us, 100 Things We've Learned from Film. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts every Monday.
Well, Keegan hasn't sung yet.
Oh, okay.
Unless he did in the latest episode. I haven't seen it. But he's very anti-musical. Reminds me of somebody on this podcast.
I don't know who you could be talking about. Welcome back for another shift on the Geeks Watch. We're here and we're starting a new show after taking a week off. We're going to be talking about Sweet Tooth on Netflix. Now, this is also a comic book. This is produced by Robert Downey Jr. and his wife. I forget what the name of their production company is, but it's on Netflix, which was a little surprising to me because it's a Warner Brothers television show or television series, so it's not on HBO Max. But initial thoughts from everybody on the first two episodes of Sweet Tooth?
Fuck
Jessica?
this show.
Oh, John.
What?
Right out the gate.
I started watching this show, and it got to like a certain point. My daughter was watching it with me, and she said, "Dad, is this show going to make me cry?" And I responded, "Probably." I was choking back myself a little bit. I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I'm with Tesla. I went and I'm like, this show is just gonna make me sad. Like, I don't want to watch it. It's just gonna make me sad.
Yeah, I like halfway through the first episode, I was like, I regret suggesting this one. I was like, I was the one who said it. Why did I do that to myself? A lot of eye rolling too. I don't know why. I'm just like frustrated with dystopians right now. So,
because we're living a dystopian. I don't want to actually have to watch it on TV.
Yeah, this isn't escapism anymore. This is like a reflection or commentary.
I mean, was this shot during the pandemic? I feel like it was shot before the pandemic, before COVID.
it was probably.
I don't know.
It had to have been shot before, or like just finished shooting before.
I mean, there's a lot of things that are very similar. It's so eerie. So, yeah, I don't know if they went back and reshot some things or if it was shot during. But as always, before we get into our main show, we're going to talk about our week's watch. But let me introduce everybody. I'm Mitch. With me, as always, is John.
Hi.
And Jessica.
Hi.
And Elizabeth.
Hello.
So, Elizabeth, what did you watch this week?
So this week I'm going to try really hard not to spoil it because it just came out, and I know at least some of us on here have not yet seen it and will want to see it. But we went and saw the Jungle Cruise or Jungle Cruise. I don't think there's a which is the new Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Emily Blunt Disney movie based on the Disney ride.
Yep.
We did this backwards. It was everything I wanted it to be. It was so wonderfully puntastic.
Thank God.
There were so many puns. So many puns. Yes. Mitch sat there and just kept rolling his eyes while I was giggling uncontrollably because the puns were really on point. It was
Look,
wonderful.
had
They
it
have
been
to
like throughout the movie, I would have been okay. But like a shotgun spray of just a whole bunch of puns in one segment was like hurting me.
And then it continued on, though. You got them throughout the movie, not quite at that extent as the initial shotgun blast, but it was just, oh, it was wonderful. And yeah, no, it did everything I wanted it to. I was happy with the way it ended. Overall, it was excellent. I don't know how much more I can say without spoiling it.
That's fine. So, I'm guessing Elizabeth doesn't know this movie, and I'm not sure about Jessica, but I'm sure John remembers a certain 1980s Robert Zemeckis movie by the name of Romancing the Stone.
I love that movie.
Okay, well, you're going to love Jungle Cruise then, because this is exactly the same.
It's my favorite ride and one of my favorite 80s movies.
So I got huge Romancing the Stone vibes from this movie. My one criticism, and there's a lot of criticism.
You have a lot of criticism.
But the biggest criticism for me is that there is absolutely no chemistry between Emily Blunt and The Rock. Like,
are you kidding me? I see them in interviews and all I see is chemistry. So I don't even know.
Yes, in their interviews, yes. But in the
Okay.
movie, I don't know if it's toned down or what, but like there's just to me it seemed like there was absolutely none.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of chemistry, but to me it was, I didn't think there was supposed to be.
Okay.
I didn't think there was supposed to be.
Okay.
So I was okay with where it landed on that.
Supporting cast is great. Paul Giamatti's in there for like a literal 5 minutes. It's odd. It's odd for him to even be in the movie, but I always enjoy seeing Paul Giamatti. Jack Whitehall. I know there was some controversy in casting him in this role, but I enjoyed him. So it's interesting to see him play this character, so to speak. I can't.
No, it was overall, it was wonderful. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. It's not going to go down in cinematic history for anything spectacular, but it's exactly what I wanted it to be.
Okay.
So I can't complain.
All right. Jessica, is there any like inklings or rumors or news out there that they're going to change the ride up at all for what the movie's doing?
There's not quite rumors yet. I don't think. I mean, people are going to assume so. They have been changing up the ride recently anyways because they're trying to take out the racism in it. So
Good.
they've been doing that because it had bad representations of tribal people.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been doing that. But the other thing is there's, I think, 5 different versions of Jungle Cruise throughout the world. And I know one, I can't remember which it's of the Asian parks, but there's one that it's like completely different from any other Jungle Cruise where it's like good forces versus evil like water versus fire or something. It looks utterly magically amazing. So I don't know if the movie pulled from that at all or anything because I haven't seen it yet.
Not really.
Actually, you can learn more about the ride too. There's a new documentary on Disney Plus. And why am I blanking on what it's called? But the first episode is on Jungle Cruise, and I did watch that, which also was an ad for the Jungle Cruise movie too, and I was slightly disappointed in that. But the documentary is really good. I don't love the narrator they have for that documentary, but it did have a lot of good information about the ride and all the rides and how it's evolved over time.
Very cool. Because they went and they put Johnny Depp on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, right?
Yeah, they did. They have Johnny Depp.
They put Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, well, yeah, they put Jack Sparrow on it and Barbossa and the Dutchman guy. And that was like, I don't know if they'll do it because that pissed off a lot of people, but honestly, anything Disney does pisses off a lot of people. So it'll depend on how popular this movie is going to end up being if they'll make that decision.
since we're not going to talk too much about this particular movie, did everybody see the announcement of casting for the Haunted Mansion movie that they're going to be redoing?
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't read anything on it though.
It's Tiffany Haddish and Lakeith Stanfield are going to both be in the movie, and it's going to take place in New Orleans, just outside of New Orleans, which I guess makes sense because the ride itself is in New Orleans Square.
That's where the Disneyland mansion is based off of.
Okay.
And then the one in Florida in Disney World is, I think, based off of like northeastern mansions. I don't know. But the one in Disneyland straight up looks like a New Orleans plantation house, actually.
Something out of the French Quarter.
Yeah.
And I remember after the first Haunted Mansion movie, the one with Eddie Murphy, they put Jennifer Tilly inside the crystal ball on the ride because she played the what are those, sorceress? No.
Madame Leota?
Yeah. But
yeah,
what would you call her? Like a fortune teller.
She's a fortune teller, yeah. Medium, yeah.
Medium, yeah. She was a medium in the movie, or she was the head in the crystal ball in the movie. So I'm guessing there might be changes to that ride going. Did they change it back to the original actress, right? They did. Keep it Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah, well, because it wasn't even an actress, really. It was an engineer. She was an engineer or painter or something for Disney, and she just had one of those iconic creepy, sharp faces. So that's the face. I can't remember. I think she did the voice for it. I can't remember. There's another documentary that goes on it.
You look creepy enough to be in a crystal ball.
Yeah, and her daughter actually does work for Disney, and so it's cute. I don't know.
It's a family company.
We hit it big, or at least Disney hit it big with Pirates of the Caribbean being turned into a movie. Then they tried it with Haunted Mansion, which didn't have great returns. Now Jungle Cruise probably is going to be a big hit.
Yeah.
Like, what other rides could they actually turn into a movie as opposed to a movie that's got turned into a ride?
Star Tours.
Well, they got Thunder Mountain.
So I mean, it's original property. That would Matterhorn.
They
could. But then you've got to deal with like Yetis and Bigfoot.
Didn't they take those out?
They have, but
no, they're still there. They brought them back.
They're still there. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Why would they take out the Yetis? Was that offensive?
Well,
culturally insensitive to Yetis.
No, the Yeti they had to take out, at least in the Mount Everest ride in Disney World, because the foundation of it was sinking. It was very heavy of an animatronic, so they took it out for a bit till they could figure out how to put it back in. And I think it's Bigfoot. No, it's the Abominable Snowman and Matterhorn, and they took him out just during a refurb. They've put him back in.
And there's nothing to like Space Mountain, right? Like there's no story.
There is a slight story, and I keep on hearing rumors that they are going to do a Space Mountain movie, but it's seriously just rumors, and on those sites that, like, we've got this covered, kind of thing, where you're like, yeah, whatever. So, but yeah, they could easily, I mean, they did Tomorrowland, so they could easily do Space Mountain.
Land.
Yeah, that's a whole land. They could easily do Space Mountain.
But I feel like with the storyline in Space Mountain, you might as well just put the money into Star Wars. Like,
yeah, and
they already have something of that vein.
Or remake Black Hole.
Sure. I still haven't seen Black Hole, so I wouldn't know if it's a good movie or not.
No idea what you're talking about. So
well,
you can hear our opinions on
it.
Okay, so Jungle Cruise is available on Disney Plus's Premier Access right now. It is also in theaters if you feel safe.
Definitely worth a watch.
John, what did you watch this week?
So, because of the week off and things just happened to align, I actually watched a bunch of stuff, unlike the last time I was on. So, I'll try to make it brief, but there was 3 things I watched. One, I watched the Assembled for the season of Loki on Disney Plus. It was really interesting hearing the actors discuss just the behind the scenes stuff on it. There was a really kind of tender and maybe slightly awkward moment where Owen Wilson, that's Owen, right? Not Luke.
It's Owen, yes.
It's Owen, yeah.
I always get them confused. I was like, okay, which one's this one? Okay. So yeah, Owen Wilson was talking about having a conversation with Tom Hiddleston one day, and Tom Hiddleston was just going on and on about doing Shakespeare in London and working with Kenneth Branagh and all these different things. And then he stopped himself suddenly in conversation, and he said, "Owen, have you ever done Shakespeare?"
Have you played
And
Hamlet?
Owen was just taken aback that someone would even think of him and Shakespeare in the same sentence.
Aw.
He was like, no, but thanks for asking, you know? And he's like, dude, you'd be great at like, and he started giving him like different things
I think
and parts.
Horatio. Like, he'd be great at Horatio from Hamlet.
Yeah,
I think.
like I think he definitely. I don't know if he'd be a lead, but he'd be a good part in
Yeah.
something. But yeah, that was just like a really interesting like little moment that they had. And aside from that, I also watched on Disney Plus Luca. Finally, got around to it.
Ooh.
It was a really sweet movie. It was really cute. Not a lot of thread in it, which is kind of something I felt like I needed. There is technically an antagonistic presence, but it's more like overcoming prejudice, really, than anything else. And other than that, just there was one specific thing I did want to mention about Luca that I really loved, and that one, it looks like it's slightly based on a previous short where three fishermen are out at night
Luna?
collecting stars, I think, or cleaning the moon or something.
They're cleaning the moon, and that's why the moon has phases. They brush it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, why are they fishermen? Like, what? Why
Because they go out in a boat
Because
and they get on the
imagination,
moon
Mitch.
by hooking it, and then they climb a ladder.
We
It's
are the
adorable.
dreamers
It's
of the
called Luna.
dream.
You can find it on Disney Plus. It's one of my favorite shorts.
Yes. So anyway,
Mitch clearly just doesn't understand the magic.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's your job to clean the moon, then it's your job to clean the moon. You're not a fisherman.
But why are they fishermen? Okay, because they're whalers on the moon. They carry a harpoon. Anyway, so I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, so Luca. It has this really cool art style where, besides the characters looking obviously Pixar-esque, most of the environment looks very close to, I wouldn't say photorealistic, but it has a real realistic look to it. But there's fantasy sequences where the main character often kind of goes off into his like daydreaming, and everything changes into like a much more art, like a children's book style of environment, where like the stars are basically like glowing fish, and it's like everything just has like more saturated colors, and it looks more cartoony and dreamy. And I just really like those transitions. I thought it was just a really sweet story. You know, a couple of monster kids that just want to be a part of the real world for a little bit and drive around on a Vespa. And I saw there was some fan art that somebody did of Loki, where they have Mobius, Loki, and Sylvie all riding on a jet ski, but in the art style of Luca. And I hadn't seen the movie yet, so this didn't make any sense to me. And now I'm like, dude, that's perfect. That's so cute. So yeah, Luca, really cool movie. And last thing I saw was season 2 of The Movies That Made Us on Netflix.
Nice.
So speaking of Robert Zemeckis and Romancing the Stone, there's 2 Robert Zemeckis movies in this season.
And they talk about Romancing the Stone.
They do.
lot.
Yeah.
And again, not going
Which
too
is the
far
first
into
I've
it.
ever heard of it.
Yeah. Jewel of the Nile is not as good, but
It is not.
We're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix that, Elizabeth. We're gonna have a girls' night, and we're gonna fix it.
I mean, should this be a VHS Gems Overtime?
It could.
It
It really
be.
could.
Yeah. Anyway, so this season features Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, Pretty Woman, and Forrest Gump. Like I said, 2 of those are Robert Zemeckis films. The first one is Back to the Future, and like with the first season, the thing that fascinates me the most, because once upon a time, when I had hopes and dreams, I thought I could be a movie director. So I was always into following the behind-the-scenes stuff of things and how things go together and how drastically things change and have to be improvised. And that's, I mean, very much the case with all of these movies. Like, from day one, it sounded like Back to the Future was just going to be a complete disaster. having to change your main
Yeah.
character like 6 weeks into shooting.
And change the tone completely.
Yes. Although I did love this really particular moment where they're saying they're having a table read with the original actor, which was Eric Stoltz.
Yep.
You remember him as the kid from Mask or the drug dealer from Pulp Fiction. And he, I guess they had a table read, and when they got to the last page and they talk about how Marty's now in this new, his family is like improved and all this other stuff's changed, Eric Stoltz got really sullen because he basically was like, this is sad. And everybody's like, why is this sad? He says, because Marty doesn't know these people. Like, he doesn't have any memories of this life with them. And like, there's not the same person.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn, that's deep. And it's true, but that's not what the movie focuses on. The movie is more like, it's like,
you don't necessarily know that. Did you watch Butterfly Effect? Like, after he goes back and changes things in the past, like he comes to the future, he gets all the new memories along with his old memories.
Yes, and it gives him like brain hemorrhages every time, and like Marty didn't have a nosebleed afterwards.
The rules might not be the same. You don't know.
No, like Ant-Man said in Endgame, Back to the Future is bullshit.
That's right.
It really is. It doesn't stick to its own time travel rules. Anyway, but that fascinated me just watching all of these movies. I love the scene in the Jurassic Park one where they're talking to this one guy that worked at ILM, and he was like extremely rebellious. Like, he went against his supervisor's like direction, and single-handedly, or maybe with the help of another engineer, came up with the CGI dinosaurs, did a test reel, and then like played it in the background at the right time where Kathleen Kennedy, who's now running, for now, currently still running Lucasfilm, and she got it. She saw it, and she was like, what's that? And I love them describing the situation with their supervisor, Dennis Muren, who, if you know Star Wars and that kind of stuff, he's really a big part of that whole ILM world. Just being absolutely furious, but saying, oh, that's something that our guys are working on. Like, someday we might be able to incorporate this. And she was like, this looks pretty good, actually. So she spread the word to Steven Spielberg. They had a test screening one day with Lucas in screen, and supposedly Lucas cried, because this was the first inkling that he was going to finally be able to make a new Star Wars movie, because the effects have caught up to what he could imagine. And that was like a lot. And that's why we have CGI dinosaurs. Before then, they were fully on board with having them be stop motion with Phil Tippett. And Stan Winston was going to be doing the mechanical ones on set. So, yeah, it was really interesting evolution, pun intended, of the whole movie-making process. And Pretty Woman, my biggest takeaway from that is I remember watching it when it first came out, and I remember that it was supposed to be called 3000 because she was a hooker, and that was the amount they settled on. But watching this now, I'm blown away by just how crazy that production was, because they didn't want Jason Alexander,
right?
Because he was so short. Mm-hmm. But especially the director, he was like, no, it's the director was quoted as saying it's going to look like Richard Gere beating up a dwarf. I was like, ooh.
Gary Marshall was the director.
Gary Marshall, thank you. And but yeah, Richard Gere lobbied for him. He's like, no, dude, this is the guy. We need him. And just on the force of this role alone, he ended up getting Seinfeld. Mm-hmm. And that changed his life forever. And an interesting little tidbit is that all of the fashion that was designed for Julia Roberts in the movie was intentional. Mm-hmm. And it forever changed, apparently, like dress styles from that point forward. People apparently are still looking for that Julia Roberts dress, like for prom. And she brought back polka dots, apparently, because it was like passe by the 80s. Yep. And like she just made it popular again. And hats, I think, became a thing momentarily because of that.
I personally liked the fact that they only had 4 yards of that fabric, so they literally could not make a second one. They could not make any mistakes. It was like, okay, it has to fit.
That's all we get, yeah. And Forrest Gump, the biggest takeaway from that one, again, with all the cool stuff. I mean, you should definitely watch these if you're interested. But the coolest little tidbit from that is that they couldn't quite crack how Tom Hanks was supposed to portray Forrest Gump. Until they cast young Forrest. And then they're like, oh, we'll just do it like he's doing. Because he had already like this really distinctive Southern drawl.
Mm-hmm.
And every time Tom Hanks was trying to do it, like it just came off kind of offensive, I guess.
Yeah.
And so they just model it after him. So all of the inflections and cadences came from the actor that was cast as young Forrest Gump, and that was his first movie role. They just went on a whim to like a casting thing that they were doing in his town, and he got the part. And I don't think he's ever done anything since then.
I don't believe he has.
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
But I mean, that was pretty iconic. That movie was also one of those where like they didn't know what was going to happen from day one. It was like everybody was fighting with the director, and nobody had any faith in it. And it's a miracle sometimes that movies can come together in the edit or in post-production, apparently, because it's the same for Pretty Woman. I see. Apparently, they shot every scene with like 3 different takes: a comedic, like a dark, and I forget what the third one was. And then from all of those, they just kind of pieced together the movie in the end.
Cool.
I was like, wow, that's impressive.
I think my personal favorite, because Mitch and I watched that season 2, was in Back to the Future. They were talking about screening it the first time, and the first time the DeLorean takes off, and the audience was so shocked and horrified because they thought they killed the dog in the DeLorean, and that once the dog came back, everybody kind of relaxed and enjoyed the movie. But apparently, audiences did not care for the thought that they might have killed the dog.
No, yeah, you can't kill a dog in a movie. That's a big no-no.
Not unless you're willing to kill everybody else in the movie, like John Wick.
So yeah, that's the movies that made us season 2.
All right, so Assembled and Luca are on Disney Plus, and the movies that made us season 2 is on Netflix. Jessica, what did you watch this week?
I talked about it last week, but I do kind of wish that I had more of a warning over the amount of feels I would have over a show about an MMORPG company called Mythic Quest. Because that starts out great and continues to get better and better every episode, but it's better because it's emotional. And I can't stop watching it. And it's wonderful. And I love it. Ian and Poppy for life. OTP. But other than continuing Mythic Quest, I have started the show that I actually got Apple TV for, and that is Schmigadoon. And it is
that a show or a movie?
It's a show. I thought it was a movie when I got it too, but no, apparently it's a weekly show. It comes out every Friday. So we're 3 episodes in. I think the fourth just came out this weekend, and I can't watch it because I have to watch it on Mondays because I have to watch it with a friend who doesn't have Apple TV. But but the first 3 episodes are phenomenal. Actually, the first episode is just wonderful, and you're hooked in, and it makes fun of all those lovely old musicals and their tropes. And it's just a wonderful comedy musical. It's so bright and colorful, and it's great. I can't say enough about it. The singing, the songs are wonderful. It's just, I love it.
How do the 2 leads, Cicely Strong and Keegan-Michael Key, do at singing?
Well, Keegan hasn't sung yet.
Oh, okay.
Unless he did in the latest episode. I haven't seen it. But he's very anti-musical. Reminds me of somebody on this podcast.
I know who you could be talking about.
So he kind of resisted. Cecily, she actually has a good voice. She uses it a lot in SNL. So yeah, she nails it. I mean, she puts that, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but like a comedy tilt to it where it's like, but you can tell she actually has a really good voice. She's a good natural singer. Actually, most people on SNL tend to be really good at singing. I realize it. Thinking of all the singing acts that they do, you're like, yeah, you guys actually can sing. You just make it funny. Yeah. But yeah.
Going back to Mythic Quest, did you make it all the way to the end of 2nd season?
No, I'm not.
Yet? Okay.
No, I just watched episode 11, which was the episode after the quarantine episode. So the episode in which they do the role-playing thingy, Mabobber.
The LARPing?
The LARPing. There we go. I always forget the name of that. Yeah, they did LARPing, and I adored it. I'm so happy.
Okay.
Why
So
do I need to be prepared for something? What?
I mean, I have an interesting take on the end of the second season. I just want to know how what other people think.
Okay. All right. Now I'm scared, but okay.
Both of those are on Apple TV Plus. Did you have anything else?
No, not really. I think that's it that I want to talk about. I've been watching anime again, but it's not really holding my attention that well. Like, I think I've watched all of season 2 of Beast Stars, and I barely remember what happened in it. So,
How was your foray into Knights of the Zodiac?
oh, that didn't last long. It's not a style of anime I like. I don't like fighting. I don't like it where it's like fighting tournaments. It's just, Dragon Ball Z never did it for me either. I'm like, yeah. But yeah. But it was fun. The first few episodes were fun, but it's not my cup of tea.
It's a lot of the same overall. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Schmigadoon and Mythic Quest are both on Apple TV Plus. For my week's watch, I'm going to talk about 2 series also. On HBO Max, there is a original show called Starstruck. Stars 2 actors that I've never seen before, but Rose Matafeo and Nikesh Patel. Nikesh plays Tom Kapoor. He is a very big movie star. The whole show takes place in London. He would be, I would say, probably equivalent to a Chris Evans. And Rose, who plays Jessie, she is a lady who has like 2 jobs. One job where she's a babysitter, au pair, and the other one where she works in a movie theater. And one night she goes out with her friend to a bar and she gets really drunk and she meets a guy. She goes home with said guy. In the morning when she wakes up, she goes to his kitchen and starts making herself a bowl of cereal. And she sees there's a poster like in his living room. She looks at the poster and realizes that he's a movie star, and she freaks out. So she didn't realize that this is a pretty big movie star that she went home with. Eventually she and him, they don't really start dating. Essentially what happens throughout the whole season is them both having miscommunication and circumstances being put in front of them where they don't get together over and over. And really it's just showing how both of them are just kind of very bad people. Like, not bad people, but like they're just not good at relationships. It's funny, but it's also very frustrating. And Elizabeth couldn't watch it because it's super awkward. Over and over, yeah. Both of them too. And it doesn't like paint one person of the relationship in a bad light where the other one is in a good light. They're both kind of painted in a bad light, just because they don't know what they're doing. So it's only 6 episodes long. All episodes are around half an hour. It's pretty easy, quick watch. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the comedy and I enjoyed the supporting actors. So, The other show I watched that I want to talk about is the new Masters of the Universe Revelations TV series on Netflix.
Ooh.
I watched it. I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was really good. I love the art in this. I love the look of it. I love the way that they redesigned a lot of the characters, and the voice cast is phenomenal. Like, it is a virtual who's who of people that you like. Mark Hamill, obviously, for you Star Wars people, is the voice of Skeletor. Lena Headey from Game of Thrones is Evelyn. Speaking of Game of Thrones, Liam Cunningham is Man of Arms. Justin Long is Roboto. Kevin Michael Richardson is Beastman. Sarah Michelle Gellar is Tila. Getting to He-Man and Adam, that is Chris Wood. Most people probably don't know him. He played Mon-El on Supergirl for many seasons. And Diedrich Bader is Trapjaw. So it's a very good show, and there is a lot of quote unquote fanboy controversy around it on the internet right now. Because of what happens in the series. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Right now, there's only part 1 of season 1 that is out, so 5 episodes, I want to say. Part 2 of the season 1 is supposed to come out, I believe, early next year.
Now, do you know, does this go with the She-Ra show that they did?
It does not.
Okay.
It directly follows what, as Kevin Smith describes it, it follows the original TV series from the 80s.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if that's true because I really don't have any memory of the original He-Man and the Masters of the Universe TV series. One thing I know for sure is that Adam is much smaller than He-Man when he is not He-Man, whereas in the old show, Adam and He-Man were the exact same. And I don't understand how people didn't notice this, didn't notice that they were the same person.
He just had a tan. That's the only real difference.
Yeah.
No, the Adam being smaller when he's not He-Man is something that I think was taken from the reboot, which happened around 2004, I think.
Oh, okay.
Where, he was more like a teenager. And he would Hulk out when he became He-Man.
I mean, that makes sense to me. So
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like in the comic books, but I know in the for the toys, which is what this is all based off of, they were all the same body mold anyways, as we learned from the toys that made us on Netflix.
Yeah.
Because originally they just wanted to make Conan Barbarian toys, but they couldn't because of rights, so they made He-Man. And stole Cringer from a zoo set of toys for Tiger.
Just make him green.
Just make him green. Has anybody else got a chance to watch this?
I've only seen the toxic masculinity reaction all over YouTube and a little bit on Twitter about it.
I'm surprised. I figured you'd be all over this, John.
I just haven't gotten around to this one because I was catching up on a bunch of other stuff. I definitely want to check it out because I did like He-Man growing up. I think during the 80s when they had these horrible vinyl costumes that was literally just like this thing you would put on like a poncho and a plastic mask. Mm-hmm. Like that was like popular costumes. I think one of mine that I had was He-Man. And I remember watching it when it was actually on, and I had Skeletor, I want to say. I didn't have the original He-Man, but I had like the one that had the battle damage on the chest. That if you like hit it, it would like change from like clean to like scratch to then there's a big old gash in it. And I think I had the elephant guy, and I liked him because you could put water in his backpack and press a button, and it would shoot water from its snout. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. But it's one of those series that I remember watching and I liked it, but I don't love it like I would for something like Star Wars. So it's not revered for me. So something that gets reimagined or reinterpreted like this, I probably would be okay with. But I'm guessing the people that are having a really strong negative reaction, this must be like their surrogate parent when they were latchkey kids and there was no adults around and all they had for comfort was He-Man to like get them through their everyday life. And now it's like you're shitting on my like history here and don't like it.
I mean, there's a lot of people complaining. I mean, there's not a lot of people complaining. Like in the latest episode of Fat Man Beyond, I guess like, Kevin Smith can't really deal with people criticizing him on Twitter, so he has to feel like he has to answer them. But then Netflix like kind of stepped in and was like, that it's like maybe 5,000 people that are complaining about this when there's about 2 million or so that are saying that it's great. So the numbers of people that are saying it's bad is irrelevant.
Well, it's a very loud minority because the internet gives everyone a voice.
Yeah, and the people who hate things are the loudest.
Yeah,
No.
that's anything. Like, there's Disney articles too, because like Disney just announced that they're bringing back masks indoors because of the Delta variant, and then I just see a thing about like most fans are upset about changing to masks indoors, and then you click on the article and it's like 4 tweets. Like, that's only four
Not
Disney
most
fans that
fans.
have actively. That's not the definition of most. Like, at least do a poll out of like 100, and you could be like maybe a percentage. But no,
That's
like
too much work, Jessica.
it's
That's
too
just
much
too much
work.
work.
It's just like, look, we found these 5 really good tweets about why, and then there's like 2 people that like don't care, and then there's like 2 people that are perfectly fine with it. But so therefore, most are not. It's just like, that's not how you journalism. Like, can we bring back good journalism?
Nope,
For the
because we need
love of
clicks.
God.
Because clicks means ads. Ads mean money.
Deep journalism requires time and expense to put together something. And if you've got to fill 24 hours,
Yeah.
365, you don't have time for that.
So
The poll is very easy to make on the internet, though.
Starstruck is on HBO Max, and Masters of the Universe Revelations is on Netflix. Okay, let's get into talking about Sweet Tooth, which is also on Netflix. Episode 1 is called Out of the Deep Woods, and episode 2 is About All the Dead People.
Sorry
Now-
about all the dead people.
But thanks for all the fish.
But thanks for all the fish. Did anybody have anything going into this? Like, did you already... Oh, first, has anybody gone past episode 2?
No.
No.
I think Steven was the only one that had watched the whole season already. But he had watched it before we decided to do the show.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
So this is also based off a comic book, but did anybody have anything going into this? Did you have any forethought? Did you have any spoilers? Did you...
I watched the trailer once and was convinced it was going to make me sad, so I stopped paying attention.
Okay.
I think I watched 3 seconds of the trailer. Actually, no, I think I just saw a picture of the cute little kid and Robert Downey Jr. talking about it. And that was it. I really wish I actually watched the trailer.
John?
All I remember hearing is that it was going to be kind of like The Road with human-animal hybrids, and that's pretty much it.
I don't think it's going to be that sad. Dude, the road is dark.
Yes, it
This
is.
hasn't started out happy.
The road is dark.
Okay.
The road is
Yeah, it's definitely bleak. This one has like a much more like lively color palette, which gives me like some sense of hope. But it's not going to good places so far. It actually kind of has a slight, with the different storylines that seem to be at some point going to be interjecting. The way the narrator is describing things, it kind of sort of slightly reminds me of the way that Pushing Daisies is formatted. Not quite as
Yes, the
colorful
narrator,
or fanciful, yeah, but like how he's kind of jumping through time. He's basically the omniscient observer, and is kind of just giving us a little insight on everyone in different points. And like I said, the color palette is definitely much. It implies us maybe hopefully a better outcome. Because if you watch The Road, that's like all just shades of gray. This one you see bright red flowers, yellow things, and like greens in the field still. So there's
the
hope.
narrator.
folk music, too.
Yeah.
The narrator is James Brolin. Just to have that out there. I don't know if he is going to play a bigger role or if he's just narrator. Most of episode 1 is following around just the 2 characters of Gus and Pooba. Or Puppa.
Pubba.
Pubba. Pubba is played by Will Forte, which I'm a big fan of Will Forte. So usually anything that he's in. This is definitely a departure from anything that I've seen him do before, but doing it well, I would say. We are introduced to the character of Tommy Jeopard, or Big Man, at the end of the episode.
End of the first episode.
The first episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we are at the beginning of the episode following around Dr. Singh, played by Adil Akhtar. Any comments on the Doctor at this point?
I mean, we had this discussion of was this shot before or after the current pandemic hit. And if it was shot before, I feel like they were very omniscient because I think I think he's a good representation of the exhaustion that frontline workers are feeling and the kind of I just want to I'm done. I kind of want to walk away.
I think the bigger part was when he walks in the second episode when he walks into the clinic and the first thing he does is put on the hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
I mean, I know hand sanitizer was a thing before the pandemic, but it became a thing for everybody in the pandemic. So I thought that was interesting.
There was a small scene in the second episode too where the character of Amy,
Yeah.
where you see masks on the floor. And it's very prominently seen. It's not like it's like background detail. I was like,
right.
That's like the Walmart parking lot right now.
Yeah.
Just all of it, and the conversation in the second episode between Big Man and the family, where he's like, I don't know why people still believe these kinds of things. And I'm like, oh, I think about all the misinformation and all the, I'm like, yep, sounds about right. This hit it nail on the head.
So as it is, it's a virus that starts, it looks like neurologically, because of the finger twitch. Yeah. But then all the babies that are born end up being hybrids between man and animal, all different types of animal. Does not just mammals, but also birds. And
we have not seen any amphibians or fish,
and apparently deer are rare because they keep on talking about that to Sweet Tooth. Like, I've never seen a deer before.
Right. What did we see in the nursery? I know we saw a bird.
There's like an orangutan.
Saw a puppy.
A porcupine.
Yeah, I remember the porcupine.
Who in their right mind? I have a lot of issues with the show. Who in their right mind looks at those and I was like, that's evil incarnate. I literally would look at that and be like, I will die for you.
They look like Angeli pictures
in the world. Like, oh my god, all of them. I'm like, I don't know.
I feel like that's the instant connection that Amy has at the end of the second episode, who works at the zoo or lives at the zoo. But I mean, obviously.
Oh yeah, and that was a little pig girl.
Pig.
I mean, obviously people are superstitious to a fault. So one thing happening at the same time as another thing is obviously a causation, not just a correlation. So.
Yes, it is. And I got it. But at the same time, like, even if you look at, it's generally a 50-50. Generally, even right now, it is generally a 50-50. Like, there is not enough of the other side here, or I'm just not seeing it. And also, like, did this pandemic literally go to doomsday in one day? Because it really seems much like the next day we're all dying. And I was like, this is
it's like
quite like, what the hell is happening? I don't know. It's just the timeline doesn't make sense.
When we see the flashback in Amy's doctor's office, like, everybody gets the alert that this is an emergency alert, and then all of a sudden things are on fire and people start killing each other. Like, yesterday here alone in our hometown of Yuma, we got how many flash flood like emergency warnings, and I don't think a lot of people started killing each other. I know it's a flash flood and not, I
was legit pandemic, like, there's flash flood as I was driving to my hair appointment, and I'm like, I need to get my hair cut. Watch out, bitch.
Yep. I think my solution to the flash flooding was, I guess I'm going to change into my pajamas and watch the rain.
Yeah, no, you're right, Jessica. It definitely escalates way too quick, way too fast. But I think that's just the comic book like fairy tale version of the story. The reason why they went that way.
See, from now on, any future depictions of the collapse of society needs to feature a scene where people are first fighting over toilet paper.
I mean, yes. The fact that visitor center is not completely picked dry in the second episode, like, that's the most unbelievable thing to me at this point.
Unbelievable.
Like, were they a family that worked at the visitor center, or were they did they just happen to be at the visitor center when everything went down? They're like, well, this is our new home now.
Well, no, they said they weren't there. They were in the city.
Oh,
working there. It's almost like things collapse and they're like, well, we're gonna go to the national park and see what we can find to hide out in.
Which, I mean, what also Pubba was like, did he put up that fence like at Yellowstone? Yeah, I almost said Jellystone. Yellowstone National Park.
Well, he repaired it. We watched that in the first episode.
Yeah.
So my guess is it was at one point like an off limits area.
And he was just like, nah, I'm gonna live here. But obviously his son was born before the rest of the other hybrids. They keep making comment of why he's bigger, he's older. So
he can talk.
He can. Well, that's I'm guessing that's because they took the other ones away.
He wasn't abandoned. Like if you don't get, I think I've mentioned it on other podcasts. If you don't get language at a certain point in your life, it's really hard for you to develop it. And those points are when you're in early childhood. Like, you need to read to your kid, you need to talk to your kid. Like, it's important. If you don't, they're going to develop their own sort of language, and clearly that's what they've done. And it's like it seems like it's more animal than human. Which, whatever.
I mean, like,
I don't know.
in the flashback with Dr. Singh in the first episode, John, like when he goes to see all the babies that were born, you see all the mothers and, fathers that are just crying outside that room. It reminds me of Batman Returns when, the penguin's born. So obviously the next step is to go throw the baby in the river.
Yeah. And hope it gets found by penguins and circus performers in the sewer system.
Exactly.
Or as we discover in the second episode, you kill them and try to use them for a cure.
We're assuming that
it's implied, but I think that's what's happening. Yeah,
that is exactly what it is.
I would
you have
literally
poachers who are going to sell Sweet Tooth, and then you have the discussion with Dr. Singh about, it goes against everything. I'm not proud of what I've done. It goes against everything. Yeah, no, they are definitely killing the babies.
You know that they can't get the virus. That's been confirmed. I literally was screaming at my TV, like, just say it's the kids. Like, just say you're murdering children.
But maybe that's the reason why they aren't saying it, because that's not what it is.
No, that's exactly what it is. They're just too horrified with themselves.
The show is going to pull that. A catch-22?
It might.
No,
it might. You don't know.
You know what, though? This has to take place in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, because Sweet Tooth's Patronus is a stag. That's confirmed in here.
I mean, I did like when the stag showed up, and it was just like
really cool.
all I could think was like, those antlers can't fit through that door. that guy is safe. There's nothing's going to happen to him from that thing.
It didn't need to. You know what, though? This is the moment in the show where my heart sank and I said, fuck this show. Is when Sweet Tooth sees the deer for the first time and thinks it's his mom.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
Well, every time he sees tracks that aren't his or his dad's, he's like, Mom? Like, come on.
Clearly have a mother.
I mean, I'm wondering if you're going to find out that Pubba was not even his dad.
Probably.
For sure.
I think
that's
where
a crazy
we're going to
dude
go.
that snatched up a baby.
Well, or he was the doctor that delivered the baby.
Or he was the doctor that delivered the baby.
And the family abandoned, like there's, no, I'm sorry, there's no way. And Mama's either dead or she didn't want Sweet Tooth to begin with.
Well, it's probably not going to be the lady that's in the picture. That might actually be Pubba's wife that died. But
by the way, just don't lie to children. Just tell them the truth. Even if it's bad, children can understand death. You can tell them, I don't know if Mom's dead, but just tell them the truth. There's no point in lying to a child. They're going to know that you're lying. They're going to know you're hiding the truth. It's just going to make them. If you actually tell the truth and have a conversation with them, they're probably not going to try to leave, dumbass. Like, just in general. I mean, don't protect your kids.
once the kid gets the teenager,
Harsh
he's
reality.
going to leave. It doesn't matter if you're telling the truth or not telling
Sweet
the truth.
Tooth is 10. That's not really a teenager, but still. Like,
I'm just saying, it's eventually going to happen.
It will eventually happen. It would happen earlier for Sweet Tooth because he has been raised to be more independent anyway. So,
yeah.
So let's talk about the fact that Pubba had a case that has the virus in it. What are we thinking here? Is he the developer of the virus? Was he a scientist that was working on it? Any thoughts?
There's a lot of questions about that. We don't
Yeah.
know for sure if that was the virus, but he did get the sick afterwards.
I mean, it was in a case. It had markings of
It looked
bad.
medical.
Well,
Yes.
except
medical.
it also looked identical to the treatment/cure that Dr. Singh was getting for his wife.
No, his was pink and hers was
pink,
yellow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was different.
But what I'm wondering is if he may have started out trying to find a cure and testing on Sweet Tooth, and when they said, well, let's just kill him so we can get more of it, he's like, and we're leaving. Goodbye.
So what you're saying is that this is basically the Mandalorian.
I mean, if
That's
the
a pretty
Mandalorian is
common-
killed,
yeah.
Was it Lone Wolf and Cub? Like that's
Yeah.
the original story.
I mean, and we see it happen
and then
we see it
the
happen
Mandalorian
twice
gets
in this show already. Like the
And then
first
the
episode, you see
Mandalorian.
Pubba and Sweet Tooth, and then Big Man does the same thing once Pubba's dead. Like this is just
I guess you're my child now. I don't want you though, but like, I guess you're my child now.
Funny that it was just the fact that he could talk was enough to switch Big Man. Like he was going to poach him just as much.
I'm thinking that his backstory is that he accidentally killed another one that spoke, and he realized, oh, they're not just animals, and maybe this could be a way of atoning.
Whatever he was doing. Yeah.
I don't think he quit though. I think he intended to kill him at that moment, but the kid talked.
well, he clearly at some point left his whatever they're calling them
Tribe, clan,
yeah,
group.
Ugh.
his hunting party. He left his hunting party before running into Sweet Tooth.
I do hope that we do get to find out more about like what was it, Abbott's rule or Abbott's law, whatever the poachers that were outside the visitor center proclaimed. Like because of Abbott's law, we are allowed to come in and like I want to know who that is. Who like
That's probably the
backstory.
president.
Maybe.
Although I did have some issue with that. I'm like, that is so playing into the big, bad, scary government like trope that it drives me crazy because it feeds into real life often. So any regulation must be the equivalent of, this Abbott's law or this
Right.
big bad government coming to take your freedom.
But the funny thing is, I don't know. Never mind.
What was the name of the law or the emergency enactment for the Japanese concentration camps during World War II?
Mm.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Martial law.
No,
Oh, it was Executive Order
Order.
9066.
It wasn't given a common name.
Nope.
No.
They didn't fancy it up. They didn't call it the Patriot Act or anything like that.
Or the
No,
Jim
no,
Crow
no, we got that
laws
one
or
later.
anything Like that.
No, it was just Executive Order 9066.
It wasn't until later than we found out the power of advertising.
Yeah. I mean, back then it was just direct and to the point.
Yep. I was going to say, unfortunately, the only one I was coming up with was Korematsu, which was the legal case regarding that issue, and whether or not that was a lawful law. But anyway,
Well, yeah, that's to be decided after
This-
the fact, I guess.
yes,
This actually
always.
kind of reminds me more of the law for Southern slavery owners to be able to go into the free North and get their quote unquote
the
slaves
ruling under
back.
Dred Scott.
Yeah, the Dred Scott ruling. That's what the law actually reminds me of because they're treating these kids like they're not human beings.
Well, they're at least
That's
half.
actually or what was it back in the past? They were 3/5.
Yes, the 3/1 rule.
Yeah. So, That's very on the nose for that. That's what it reminded me of, at least.
Yeah, so the government does have a history of being scummy when it comes to people's rights.
Does
in
it?
some cases, but a little bit.
A little.
Manifest destiny and all that being said,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, this is our land.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. The director on this is Jim Mickle. I wanted to bring that up. He has a few credits. Hap and Leonard was a big one that was a TV series. Stakeland was a vampire movie from 2010. Well, 2019 he had a Netflix movie called In the Shadow of the Moon. That's probably the only one that I've seen. And that was not a great sci-fi movie about time travel. So that makes me a little bit hesitant, but I am enjoying this more than I enjoyed that movie so far. But we'll see when we get further down the line. Any other thoughts? Anything else that stick out to anybody? I did stop it at one point because I saw something and I've convinced myself that that's not going to be anything at this point now. But at the point when Big Man like kind of creeps up on the poacher that is being dumbstruck by the stag, you see him kind of like just like get bigger behind him, but because he's standing up, but the fire catches his eyes in a way that it does the same kind of glint thing that you see on Sweet Tooth when it's dark. So I was wondering if they were trying to imply something about Big Man, that he also had some hybrid in him.
He's a replicant.
But it'd be, he could be a replicant.
It's Blade Runner.
But I think that's way too too much of a stretch for a grown adult man who used to be in the NFL to be a hybrid. Unless it's something that they were doing way back when, and now it's.
Or it's just being used to show that like the hybrids are just the next step in like you've always had
an evolutionary thing. Yeah.
An evolutionary.
That's a good call.
See, I thought you were going to go more literal and say that because his last name is Shepherd, he's going to round up a bunch of these hybrids and take them to the safe place.
But his name is Jeopard.
Jeopard?
With a J.
Oh. That way.
I like John's better.
I mean, Jeopard could just be another interpretation of the word shepherd, just like good speed, Godspeed, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like Jiff and Gif.
No, it's just
it's actually it's actually Geppard.
What did you think of our panda bear person at the end of the episode?
Reminded me of
Tropic
Ben
Thunder.
Stiller in Tropic Thunder.
Good guy,
or
bad guy?
Which I love most.
Bad guy.
Oh, dude, those are bad guys. Absolutely.
100% bad guys. That preserve is not a preserve.
Okay.
You don't wear a skull on your face and be a good guy.
I will find a person that is a good guy that wears a skull on their face.
You go for it. They are definitely bad guys, though.
Unless you're talking about Cubone from Pokemon.
There you go.
Oh,
Done.
there you go. Oh, Cubone, but his is sad.
But he's not a person that wears a skull on his face.
Isn't Cuba wearing the skull of like a family member
of its
his
mother?
Mom.
Yeah. See.
He grows in his mom's
but he's not a human.
There's some pretty dark lore with that with Pokemon, apparently.
Apparently.
If you're ever curious, by the way, you can check out on YouTube, look up Lost Pokedex, and they have a lot of the either rumored or semi-confirmed history of certain Pokemon, where it turns out that Voltorbs are actually Pokeballs, where the Pokemon that was in them became fused with it, and that's why they're now permanently a red and white ball Pokemon instead of like whatever animal was in them. Yeah, they can get pretty crazy.
Deep.
What are your thoughts on Dr. Singh? Is he going to continue the research?
He's going to try.
Even the morbid parts of it?
Yep. And then he's going to come face to face with Sweet Tooth.
Yeah, he won't be able to do it.
I'd be like, well, I can't do it to a deer. But like this wolf one over here. This raven one.
Yeah, there's definitely some animals that seem more expendable than others. If there's like a rabbit person,
rat.
I mean, the pig baby we just saw. Pigs have very close to human like characteristics, and
yes.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Could almost
No.
pass as human with a little plastic surgery, maybe.
That's
Wait, we didn't see its
Penelope.
hands. Were they like
we
cloven?
don't know if they're cloven or not.
Yeah.
Oh.
All I know is this show is going to continue to make me sad. And I'm going to continue to
Absolutely.
kind of dread watching the
Do you
next
think
episode.
Robert Downey Jr. would do that to you?
Yes.
Yes.
100% yes.
I'm
I
not
have
even
no doubt in my mind.
I'm not even sad though. I'm just mad at this show because it's just so thick and tropey. Like I'm like, just oh my god! Like of course you're just gonna lie to your kid. Like of course it's gonna seem like the entire world just abandons these kids. Like of course there's gonna be no humor in this at all because we've only proven that when horrible things happen in this world, we have zero humor about it and we don't make fun of it right away, right? Like I don't know. And it's just, that's why I avoid dystopians because I feel like dystopians just don't ever show truly how people actually are.
I mean, we saw how
Like-
people actually are during.
I mean, they do
But
get the
it's
fact
so
that people are
complicated.
generally crappy, right?
People are generally crappy, but not all people. And it's not all that rapid. And there's just not enough of real world in this one. I don't know. And it's bugging me.
Oftentimes,
It's just bugging me so
those
much.
bad people also have guns.
Yeah.
It is true. It is interesting that there wasn't more guns from the poachers in this world.
Unless they just ran out of bullets. I mean, if all of industry has stopped,
It's been 10 years, so yeah.
At some point,
Yeah.
unless you know how to make your own, which some do, but you have to have the materials and you have to, like, that's difficult.
That also
and
brought up
expensive.
one of the details I like from this production is when you see, like, after some time has passed in a society and no more production is taking place, things that are made out of found items. I really enjoy that a lot. And I liked how they had that little toy train set that looks like it was made out of, like, cans
Uh-huh.
and all the stuff that they had at the cabin, like
Yeah.
just with whatever you have available to you.
It's very much Far Cry, right? Far Cry? Is that the Fallout, not Far Cry, Fallout.
Yes, Fallout. It reminded me of this really awful movie, whose name I can't remember now off the top of my head. It was with Bill Murray, and they all lived like in a vault underground, and they were all tiny because all the animals were huge. Apparently,
I don't know this movie.
The City of Lights or something like that.
Nope.
Yeah, I think it was City of Lights. Now that I think about it. Anyway, yeah,
Bill Murray.
yeah. Bill Murray, City of Lights, I believe is what it was called. And it has a very, very Fallout look to it. Where, because they've been in this underground vault now for, I don't know how many, like at least 100 years, maybe more. You just make whatever you can with like your leftovers.
You're talking about City of Ember?
That's the one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I never saw
okay.
that.
It's an awful movie, but it's got great production value for what I'm
reminds
talking
me-
about.
It's a young adult book series.
Yeah, it says it was from Walden Entertainment or a Walden Media Entertainment or something like that. What you were describing reminded me of Downsize with Matt Damon. I don't know if you ever watched that, where they shrink themselves.
Yes.
Oh, I
No, they don't
remember
explain
that.
what happens to these people, but like I guess maybe just from being in isolation for I don't know how many centuries it's been already, that biologically they probably just started adapting to becoming smaller over time.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you've got less
Yeah.
space.
Yeah,
Smart.
less food, less resources. But yeah, that was one of the things I liked about it, is those little details and the crumbling. Was that what they call it? The big crumble?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Never read it. Never watched it.
No, in Sweet
In the
Tooth.
show,
Sweet
they
Tooth.
refer to the collapse of civilization
Oh.
as the big crumble.
The crumble.
Then we will return next week with episode 3. If you want to talk to me more about this show or any things that we talked about today, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Mitchpedia GEM. GEM stands for Geek Elite Media. John, where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter at Magic Bollocks.
And Jessica?
You can find me on Twitter as JM Bailey Writes.
And Elizabeth?
You can find me with the rest of Geek Elite Media at Geek Elite Media and our Facebook page /Geek Elite Media.
Check out our website, geekelitemedia.com, for archived episodes of this podcast and other podcasts on our network. check out our Patreon, patreon.com/geekelitemedia for exclusive material that you can only get if you're one of our patrons. And whatever podcatcher you use to listen to us, please rate and review us. It helps spread the word of our network. But until next time, this is the Geeks Watch on the Geek Elite Media Network saying always remember to geek out.
Out.
This concludes our broadcast.